Today we are going to discuss about application aware routing within Cisco SD-WAN, Viptela portfolio, how exactly application aware routing will work and how it benefits organizations in certain scenarios like brownout scenarios or blackout scenarios, right? So before that, a small introduction about LearnEdge. So LearnEdge provides the learning platform for complete Cisco SD-WAN portfolio as well as other SD-WAN solutions. So we provide virtual workshops, classroom workshops, video on demand training like video on demand. I think most of you guys have subscribed for our free course. And then we also provide training pods for your internal classroom training use, just in case if you are a corporate user and then you want to deliver training within your organization. And if you're looking for training pods for Cisco SD-WAN, we provide those training pods. So we cover foundational and advanced learning labs. So apart from that, so we also does the POC labs and we do consulting in terms of design, POC or a POV, or if you're doing a deployment phase and you have some issues, you need some support from us, so we will also provide that consulting support. Before going to start the session, so I just have a poll, so you just need to answer the poll. Let me launch the poll. So how are you familiar with Cisco SD-WAN components, I mean solution components? So are you aware about the complete Cisco SD-WAN solution, or you are completely new about the Cisco SD-WAN solution? So this is completely an anonymous poll. So we are not going to show anything about your name, your details and everything. Okay, so good. I have 75% of the people. Okay, I have, okay, so the answers keep coming. Let's wait for another 10 more seconds. Okay, so I have 40% people are yes, and then 60% is no. So anyway, we are going to cover the architecture part today. Let me end the poll. Okay, so if you look at the Cisco SD-WAN architecture, right? So if you see my screen, if you look at all the devices below, these are completely your, I hope you're able to see my writing. So these are completely your WAN edge devices. So typically in your WAN network, you will have, let's say, ASR 1Ks or ISR 4K devices, or any of the Viptela platform if you're already using it. So these are the devices that are connecting to your MPLS or internet, basically your WAN, the point-to-point networks or anything, right? So these are basically your data plane devices. On the top, whatever we are seeing are completely the control and management plane devices of SD-WAN fabric. Okay, so the first thing that we have here is vBond. So vBond is your orchestrator and then first point of authentication of any data plane device like ISR 4K or ASR 1K that is coming and joining the fabric, because it needs to authenticate all these devices. For example, this particular WAN edge device, it is coming and trying to join your SD-WAN fabric. First it contacts the vBond. vBond will authenticate him based on his serial number, certificates and everything. And then once everything is proper, he will give other details like the vSmart and then the vManage, so that he can just, so that the vManage will try to form the control connections with vSmart as well as vManage as well. Okay, so what is vSmart? So vSmart is basically the brains behind the complete Cisco SD-WAN network. So it acts like an SDN controller where it distributes your routing and security key information. So you can compare this with BGP route reflector. So basically, let's say I have, this is my branch 1 and this is my branch 2, right? So I will not be able to know the each other routes by default, right? So whatever the connected route, let's say I have a connected route here A and I have a connected route here B. So my A route will be advertised from this particular WAN edge to the vSmart, and in turn vSmart will advertise that to the other branches. Okay, so it is kind of a route reflector fashion, but this is only at the control plane level. So once they know each other's routing information, they will also know about how to reach between these two WAN edges, and they form the data plane connection between these two V edges, or the WAN edges, basically V edges or C edges. Okay. Let me erase everything here. Okay, so as we discussed, this is the data plane device. So this data plane device is either physical or virtual. There is a typo there, so just ignore that typo. So either it will be a physical device, so or a virtual device. The virtual device can be installed either on ESXi or a KVM platform, or it can also be installed in your cloud, public cloud environments like AWS, Azure, and GCP is on the way. And all these devices are capable of zero touch provisioning. So how the zero touch provisioning works? So as soon as you receive an IP address, so directly from, for example, you have connected to your internet provider. Let's say this is my internet connection, right? So it connects to the internet connection, so it receives the DHCP IP. As soon as it receives the DHCP IP, he will try to contact ztp.viptela.com. So if it is a VH device, he will try to contact ztp.viptela.com. If it is a Cisco device, he will try to contact devicehelper.cisco.com. Okay, so once they know each other, so it will go to the Cisco PNP portal. Cisco PNP portal will have all the details about your organization's name, what is your organization's vBond details like vBond IP address, or if there is any enterprise root CA certificate that you are using. Okay, so once you know the vBond IP address of your organization, so he will try to contact the vBond IP here, and then vBond will authenticate all the device related information like serial number, the chassis number, and everything, and then it will allow him to contact any of the other control elements within the SD-WAN fabric. Okay, so that is how exactly it works. So for physical devices, zero touch provisioning is by default. But for the virtual devices, like whether you are installing it on the ESXi or a KVM, so you need to create some boot startup config and then load that within your while bringing up the VM within your ESXi or the KVM. So basically it contains the chassis number and then the token ID, which is kind of one-time password, and then it basically authenticates and activates that particular device. So why do you need to do that? Because all these virtual devices, they will not have the serial number hard-coded within the device itself, because that is not the hardware, right? And then the next one that we have here is vBond, the vSmart. The vSmart is completely SDN architecture like what we discussed. So it acts like a controller. It takes completely the routing information or the security key information from all the devices like WAN edges, and then advertise it to the other WAN edges in the other branches. Okay, so it can scale completely horizontally, and it is very low complex device. And then the vManage. So vManage is basically your manager. You can say your NMS server here. It is actually a single pane of glass for your entire SD-WAN network. So basically you can configure templates, you can configure your policies, centralized policies or localized policies, and you can monitor and troubleshoot your entire WAN network from this particular single device. So it is capable of RBAC, and it also acts as your API gateway. So if you have any third-party tools you want to integrate, so for example, you are using any of the management or ticketing system tools, so you can directly integrate with this. As soon as, I mean, you can write your own scripts with using these APIs, so that it will trigger. For example, if you have any issues with any of your WAN link, for example, AT&T MPLS, if you have some issues, as soon as you find some issues, you want to trigger a ticket directly to your AT&T support email, so you can do those kind of scripting levels as well. Okay, so the completely automation thing is completely within the vManage itself. Okay, and so we have another SaaS based platform which is called vAnalytics. So vAnalytics is completely a SaaS-based platform directly from Cisco or Viptela. So it is actually provided as a SaaS solution. There is no hardware or there is no specific software platform or the virtual platform that you can bring on-prem or any of your cloud. If you are running within your private cloud, you cannot do that. So you can directly subscribe this only from the Cisco itself. So what vAnalytics does is, it analyzes the data and process using machine learning algorithms, and then identifies the carrier performance, like how AT&T is performing, how Sprint is performing, or any other service provider for that matter. So how your providers are performing, and it will analyze that data and then provide it to you in terms of a report, right? So that you will come to know, okay, so during this particular week, AT&T has some issues. So somehow we are not able to identify that, but now based on this report, we can check with AT&T why the issue was happening. Similarly, the bandwidth forecasting. So you can get to know the bandwidth forecasting, right? So based on the years of or the months of the data, it can give you the pre-forecasting. So for example, if the next month is coming, let's say the October is coming, within the October, it can forecast you that you might expect a more application usage, so that it will increase bandwidth on your MPLS link. So it is better, there are some kind of an applications that are non-business critical. You can move those application traffic to internet, and then the actual business critical traffic will go on MPLS, right? So complete bandwidth forecasting, and then how you can tweak your policies and everything, so can be done using your vAnalytics. So some of the SD-WAN common use cases you can see here. So one is critical applications SLA, which is application aware routing, which we are going to see today, how exactly the application aware routing works and so what exactly it is. So other things is bandwidth augmentation. For example, you have multiple applications of traffic. I want few application traffic to send on MPLS, few application traffic to send on internet link, right? So you can do those kind of policies. And then secure segmentation. You have by default segmentation, which is all these VPN1, VPN2 that you are looking here is nothing but VRF. So virtual routing and forwarding. So they are by default irrespective of the site. So they are completely within their routing table, right? So if VPN1 in branch 1 can only communicate to VPN1 in branch 2. So they cannot communicate by default with any of the VPN2 or VPN3. I mean, any of the VRFs here. Okay, so you have regional secure perimeter, so which is nothing but your service function chaining. So for example, you have branch 1 and branch 2. So there is some, your secure information security team is asking that there is some application, that application traffic always needs to go via the firewall. But at those branches, you don't have a firewall. You have a firewall at your hub location or a data center location, right? Let's say branch 1 to branch 2, you want to send the traffic for that application via your hub location. So you can create a policy, service function chaining policy, and then send your traffic accordingly. Excuse me. And then the guest Wi-Fi. So guest Wi-Fi is nothing but, let's say, as of now, if you look at most of the organizations, they will have their customers visiting or their vendors visiting each and every branch. But the branch networks, they don't have a direct internet connection till now, right? So they will backhaul to the DC. If you want to provide your guests internet connection, their traffic is actually traversing from branch via your WAN links to the DC or the hub location, and then exiting out to the internet. Right. So coming to the SD-WAN, so we can use or leverage our internet connection for internet purposes for guests as well. So that they don't need to traverse via our WAN links and then go to the DC or a hub location in order to go to the internet. Right. We can also segment their network completely. Similarly, we have DIA and DCA. So we can provide direct internet access as well as direct cloud access directly from the branch itself. Excuse me. Okay, so coming to our focus point today, Cisco SD-WAN application aware routing. So what exactly application aware routing is providing to us? Okay, so if you look at application aware routing, so it is actually providing us the dynamic path switching in a brownout situation. So till now in every organization, if it is a blackout, that means that particular path is completely down. Anyway, you have the other path. For example, if you are using two MPLS connections, so if MPLS 1 is down completely, obviously the traffic will take completely on MPLS 2 or any other transport connection that you have, right? But what if there is a brownout situation, like a latency in MPLS 1 and or a packet loss in MPLS 1? So there are few critical applications that will not work properly if certain threshold of latency or the packet loss is reached. Okay, how exactly you solve that situation, right? So that is what this application aware routing is solving us. Okay, so how exactly it solves us? Basically, it runs the BFD packets on the data plane tunnel between the sites, basically between the branches or between the branch and then the hub location. Okay, and the tunnel is nothing but you have your local TLOG color and then the remote TLOG color. So the TLOG color is actually identifying what is the underlying IP address, the transport IP address, in order to reach the remote location. Okay, and how exactly it works. So let me show you here. So if you see this, I have branch 1 and branch 2, for assuming that branch 1 is on the top and then the branch 2 is in down phase. Okay, so now let's say I'll write here branch 1, branch 2. So now I have some voice traffic which is going here. So I'm just trying to send voice traffic directly from branch 1 to branch 2. So my voice traffic is initially going on MPLS link. So if this complete link is down, that is fine. The traffic will try to go on via the internet link, the tunnel that formed via the internet link. But what happens instead of the blackout, it forms like you have latency is increased, right? Or you have the packet loss is increased, right? So based on your routing decisions, obviously your routing information is still there. It tries to send the voice traffic still on this particular link only. It will not try to send on this particular link, right? How do you mitigate those kind of situations? So let's say if you see on the right hand side, so we can create a configuration. So this is basically our app route config. So what exactly our config says here is we need to create an SLA list. So what we need to match as a part of our SLA parameters, we can configure based on latency or a packet loss or an jitter. Okay, so for example, for this particular voice class, I want to configure based on 100 millisecond. So basically 100 millisecond is my threshold. If on this particular tunnel, so that I am forming between these two sites over the MPLS, if it is the basically 100 millisecond is the latency and or it is less than 100 millisecond, it is good to go my voice traffic on this particular tunnel. But if it is exceeding this 100 millisecond, I want to configure a backup preferred link. So which is, you see here, this is what my backup is. So I need to say that, okay, my backup preferred color is basically internet. My primary preferred color is basically MPLS as long as I am meeting these SLAs, which is 100 millisecond. Okay. So now let me just, I'm sorry, some of my keys are not working somehow. I'm not able to delete that. Okay. So this is how I just want to showcase basically your voice traffic is going on MPLS as long as that the latency is less than 100 millisecond. But if it is more than 100 millisecond, your voice traffic will try to move directly to the other tunnel. So you can ask a question, what happens if my internet is also having greater than 100 millisecond? And in that case, what it does is if you have multiple flows, it will try to load balance the traffic on both the links. It will not send only on one singular link, basically as per the policy. Or we can say as per the app route algorithm that Cisco is providing us. Okay, so once we have the SLAs that we have met, so we can actually create a AAR policy, which is application aware routing policy. We can match based on the application. Basically, the DPI engine will kick in as soon as you enable application visibility. So basically VHs are using Cosmos and the CHs are using NBAR. Everybody knows how the Cisco platform, the NBAR feature works, right? And apart from that, so we have also the flexibility in configuring these policies based on any of the traditional mechanisms like source IP address, destination IP address, or the source port, destination port, or any of the DHCP values for QoS mechanisms, right? And then the action, so you need to set action for each match criteria. Either you can set your SLA class. What is your SLA class? For each application, you can create your own SLA, right? So for example, you have Office 365 and you have some Salesforce. So both of them are completely two different kind of an application set. So their SLAs can be different. So there is a provision that you can call for each match criteria, you can call each SLA. If you have so many SLA classes, if you want to utilize those SLA classes, you can reutilize those SLA classes as well. So once we create our SLA list and then the AAR policy, we can apply this to a site and then to a VPN. Okay, so let's say if you have multiple VPNs, VPN 1 and VPN 2, and you want to apply this particular policy only to the VPN 1 and only to particular branches, you can do that as well. Okay, so what is the convergence? So how long it will take to converge the packet from one link to another link, right? It is completely based on your BFD timers. So BFD is running on the tunnel between the sites. You cannot disable that. It is enabled by default. Okay. So BFD will run, will send its packets by default every second. Okay. So it sends every second hello packet and you have a polling interval. So polling interval is 10 minutes by default. So basically what it does is, so polling interval and then the multiplier, right? Multiplier is 6. I'll just come to that one. So why I'm saying here is, so if you have a polling interval, that means every second the hello is going on and then it will see the return traffic as well, because it is completely it is calculating round trip packet loss and then the round trip latency. So every second it sends and then it calculates what is the latency, what is the packet loss, and then up to 10 minutes it calculates and then averages it out. And then whatever the average value that we are receiving within that 10 minute, we are going to put that in the multiplier bucket. So the multiplier is bucket. So we have 6 buckets here. So that means we have 6 buckets. So after 60 minutes, this is by default, what I'm saying is, after 60 minutes, it will try to calculate the complete average. If that average latency or the average packet loss is below what the SLA that we have configured, then the traffic will go on the preferred color. But if the latency or the packet loss is completely exceeding the threshold value that we have configured, then that means your SLA is breached. It is going to look for alternative links, better links, who is performing less than 100 millisecond. If no one is performing less than 100 millisecond, he is going to do a complete load share between the links. Okay, so I'm going to showcase how exactly the convergence will work completely here in the demo. Okay, so let me access my vManage here. So the vManage is, completely the setup is up and running. So we have 4 Vantage devices. Out of 4, we have 3 VHs and then 1 CH. The CH is CSR 1000V. And all other devices are VH Cloud devices. And we have 1 vSmart and then 1 vBond. Okay. So let me show the topology here. So today our focus point here is basically the B2R1. So basically, which is our here B2R1, which is our branch network with CSRV, right? So at data set, I'm sorry. So if you look at, it is having two links. One is connected to the internet and one is connected to the MPLS. I also have my service side network, right? The service VPN is nothing but the LAN side of it. The transport VPN is called the WAN side of the links. Okay, so there is a clear-cut segmentation between transport VPN and then the service VPN. So if you are trying to compare with VH and then the CH, the VPN 0 in the VH is transport VPN. The VRF, basically the default routing table within the CH platform is your transport VPN. And any of the VPN 1, so VPN 1 to VPN 511, okay, so that is your service VPN range. And then VPN 512 within the VH is management VPN. And coming to the CH platform, if any of the VPNs that you are, or the VRFs that you are creating is completely your LAN side VRFs, if it is VRF management, so because most of you guys are aware that Cisco is having VRF management by default on most of the platforms, that is your management VRF, which is considered as management VPN within the VH platform. Okay, so that's the slight difference here. And so within this, so I have a D4 here, the desktop 4. So from the desktop 4, I'm trying to send the, I'm already sending some traffic actually. So we can see what traffic it is and which link it is taking. And then based on that, we can create an application aware routing policy. And then we will increase the delay and see if the traffic is moving or not moving. And then we try to match it with an SLA and then see if that converges to the other link or not. Okay. So let me see. I'll just try to open a few other tabs here. Just for the demonstration purpose. Let's say I want to open network. B2R1. To open interface here. So I just want to showcase on which interface the more traffic is going when I'm sending. And I also want to open another tab. Similarly, open tunnel statistics. Okay, so tunnel statistics, we are going to select latency and jitter. Let me show the real time. So let us concentrate only on the WAN links as of now. So two WAN links, Gigabit Ethernet 2 and Gigabit Ethernet 3. Okay, and then we can see real time. Okay, so we have more traffic as of now. I'm sending, it's a one-way traffic just for the demonstration purpose. So the more TX is on Gigabit Ethernet 2, right? So Gigabit Ethernet 2 is my internet link. And then let's see what is the latency on that particular link. Also on the MPLS link as well. So you can see the latencies here, both for internet link as well as MPLS link. So everything is below 20 millisecond, right? So as of now, the traffic is basically going on internet link. So how do we know which traffic is that, right? So what we can do is, let me just, so if it is a VH platform, you can directly see that information from the vManage itself, but within the current release, you need to go to CLI for all the CH platforms. So for that, basically you need to enable your application visibility as well as flow visibility. So I have enabled that already. Show SD-WAN app FWD, which is app forwarding, and then I'll see cFlowD flows. Okay, you can see this much traffic is going on. I mean, these are the flows basically. You can see I have ICMP traffic. So we have some SSH traffic, right? And we also have what is the source IP, what is the destination IP, and then the source port and then the destination port. What is the DHCP value for it? So you will have complete visibility into your network, your WAN network basically, right? So which interface that it is taking. So for the demonstration purpose, I'm sending from this particular desktop to the DC network, right? And you can see this is 10.3.1. network, which is my source. Destination is 10.1.1 network. We can identify here the source is 10.3.1.10 and then 10.1.1.10. Okay, my traffic is DHCP 46, which is EF. You see my egress interface is gigabit Ethernet 2. So I'm using that egress interface, and then whatever the tunnel that is formed using that particular interface, the traffic is going on that tunnel. And then ingress interface is gigabit Ethernet 4, which is my LAN side interface, which is basically where D4 is connected. Okay, so as of now, so there is no the delay that we have sent. So this is the default delay between all these sites, basically between the branch to CH and then the data center devices, DC-R1 and DC-R2. Okay, so what we can do now is, before that, let us reduce the BFD timers. So as I was mentioning the BFD timers, so let me show you what that is. Let me open another tab here so that we don't need to. So I want to show you app route statistics. So let us filter just based on MPLS. Sorry, ours is, it is going on business internet. So you see here, so these are the different, if you look at the host name that we are looking at B2R1, which is CSR 1000V, the source and destination IPs, which are basically the underlay transport IP addresses. Okay, for each link, I mean for each transport, I mean each device, like say I have basically two kind of a transports for each device, right? So if you look at here, I have B2R1 to DC-R1, it is one tunnel, B2R1 to DC-R2, another tunnel. So each tunnel, I will have to calculate what is the latency, packet loss, and each and every particular interval. So let me show you here. So here is the mean loss, mean latency, and mean jitter. Okay, so this is how exactly it works. So as of now, there is no policy here. But if you look at each one is having 6 times, because our pole interval is 6. Each one is having 6 buckets. So total we are seeing 2 buckets because I have from branch to both the DC devices. So if we concentrate on one, for example, let us concentrate on the 101, right? If you see, I have 6 buckets. So each bucket is up to 10 minutes average calculation. So I need to wait for 1 hour if something is happening in my network for the application to converge onto the better link, right? So let us try to reduce this for our demonstration purpose. So how do we reduce that? So we need to create a BFD template and attach that BFD template to the device template of CH. Okay, so let me create a BFD template. This is for CSR 1000V. This is my BFD template. Let me give it a name, just a BFD. So instead of 6 buckets, I want to average out within 2 buckets itself. Okay, so now even if it is 2 buckets, if you look at our pole interval, that means each bucket value is 600 millisecond, which is 10 minutes. Again, it takes 20 minutes for us to see what exactly the convergence is happening, how exactly it is happening, right? So just for again lab purposes, let's reduce this. I will just see just 10,000 millisecond here. Okay, let me save this feature template. Now we will go to the device template. I mean, if you are completely unfamiliar with all these templates, I would recommend you to go ahead and look into our the free Cisco SD-WAN training course, where we cover the complete bring up of all the control elements, data plane elements, and also the templates. So now let me attach that particular BFD template to this device. Let us update. So if you want to look into what is the CLI command that is pushing, you just need to click on a device to see the config preview. So these are the commands that it is pushing to the CH platform. Okay. So if you want to compare the differences, what is the current configuration on the device and what is the configuration that I am pushing, you can just click on config diff and then see side by side. You will see the config differences between the new configuration as well as the current configuration. Okay, you see the current configuration, the default values, BFD app route multiplier is 6 and the 600,000 millisecond. We are just trying to change that. Okay, so let us go ahead and quickly configure that. So let us wait for the template push to be successful. So meanwhile, we can see still more traffic is on Gigabit Ethernet 2 and we have latencies as it is. Let's see what is happening here. Yeah, it is success. Okay. Now we have tweaked down our timers. So let us go and see the same thing. Now it will be B2R1. We will see the same app route statistics. Show filters. Same business internet and then the business internet. Now you see earlier we have 6 per device. Now we have only 2 per device. So basically it is showing for all the remote system IPs. This is my local system IPs. So the first one is for DCR1. The second one is DCR2. And then the third one here is branch 1 R1. Okay, which is a VH. Okay, so now what we will do is, so let me see, I mean, you can see the, as of now, the mean latency on all these links, basically it is 19 millisecond range. So let us go ahead and create a policy first, or what we can do is before creating a policy, let us introduce the latency. Okay, so this is the traffic is as of now going on my internet link, right? So let me bring up my delay generator here. So this is my delay generator. What we are doing is, let's say I want to what I'll do is I have the command which is already there. I'm trying to increase the latency here. So now we go to our vManage. I have increased the latency. Now we can see, because the BFD timers, so within 20 seconds of time, now you can see that the latency is increasing on internet links. You can see once I hover on it, the latency is going to 215, 218 and 216 milliseconds to each device. Okay, now so we have created a brownout situation. The latency is very high, but still if you see, my traffic is still on that particular link only. So that now all your users or employees or your customers will face a very bad experience. Okay, so to provide very good experience, you need to have Cisco SD-WAN in your network, right? So let us create a policy quickly. So before that, I just want to show what is the latency that it is calculating here. Let me refresh this. You see the latency is completely increased. So now let us go ahead and quickly create a policy so that as soon as it detects this latency, it will immediately converge to the better alternative link. Okay, so let me go ahead. I'll just open up in another tab. I'll create a policy. So basically we are trying to match based on the DSCP value. So our DSCP here is 46. Okay, so let us try to create our SLA class first. What we are trying to do is, let me give it a name, and then latency is, for example, 100 millisecond. Add. And then we have a site. The site is basically represented with site ID. I will say this is my branch 2 because I want to apply this policy to branch 2. The branch 2 site ID is 200. And I also want to apply this to a particular VPN. I will apply this to VPN 1. Okay. Now that's all. So let's go ahead and click next. Again, click next. We don't want to do any of the topology or VPN membership policy. So we want to create application aware routing policy here. Create new. I'll give it a name AAR. Okay, now click on sequence type, sequence rule. What we are trying to match here is, for example, my source data prefix, which is, we can also match based on the prefix list, or we can directly give the prefix here. What I'm doing is I'm giving 10.3, is it 10.3 or 10.1.3? This is 10.3.1. 10.3.1.0/24, and I also want to match this traffic. This is DSCP 46, right? And coming to the actions now, I want to call SLA class list. As soon as this SLA, I mean everything is there proper, basically it is less than 100 millisecond. I want the traffic to go on my existing link itself. What is our existing link? This is business internet. Okay, basically we are trying to do ulta because the traffic chosen by default business internet, and we have increased the latency on the business internet. But if you go to the actions again, we have backup SLA preferred color. Okay, and then our backup preferred color here is MPLS. Okay, you see here there is an option strict. So this means if there is no other transport link that is giving us a latency less than 100 millisecond, I will drop the traffic completely instead of load sharing on all the available links. Okay, save this, save the policy. This is our main policy. I'll just create this plan edge policy. So whatever the policies that we have created as a part of the previous sections, those are basically the sub policies. All of them will be called under one single main policy. So at any point of time, you can have only one main policy activated. I will save the policy. Oh, sorry, before that I need to apply it to site and then the VPN list. The site list is B2 and then the VPN list is VPN1. Click on add. Sorry, I'm taking more time here rather than the scheduled time. We are trying to finish within 10 minutes. Okay, now we have the policy which we have created. We can see the preview of it. The preview configuration, you can look into it. This is how the policy will be pushed to the vSmart, and then vSmart is going to look into what is the site and then what is the VPN, and then the vSmart via the OMP, it will push the policy to all the WAN edges. Okay, so we have SLA class, which is latency 100 millisecond. We are matching this particular source IP and DHCP 46. You can notice this is and, not or. And then if it is within the threshold, within less than 100 millisecond, I want to go on business internet, which is now we are going. But if it is exceeding the threshold, I want to send the traffic on MPLS. Okay. Now our traffic, we have created the lists and then we have applied that particular policy to that site list as well as that particular VPN. Okay. So let us go ahead and activate this policy now. Let me refresh. Okay, I think the session got timed out here. What we can do is, I'll just close this. Let us refresh. Because this is critical to see how exactly the traffic is moving between the links. Let me uncheck all other here and then see the real time. So here as well, let us check the real time. I need to select latency and jitter. Okay, you can see still the latency is 200 plus between those links. And then the traffic is going on Gigabit Ethernet 2. Let me go to the policies and then activate the policy. So once the policy is activated, vManage will push this to the vSmart and then vSmart will send it to the other WAN edge devices. But for other WAN edge devices, you will not see the policy in the running config. Okay, let me connect back to B2R1 here. Show SD-WAN app FWD cFluid flows. Let us check our policy. Our policy is success already. The latency is still there. So now the traffic needs to be switched to the other part. Within the CLI, we will see that immediately. So let me just run this command again. We are looking at DHCP 46. You see now the DHCP 46, our egress interface is Gigabit Ethernet 3. Right? So Gigabit Ethernet 2 is still there. Now we have moved the traffic successfully in case of brownout scenario to the other best alternative path. Okay, within the vManage, it's going to give us some time. I mean, based on the resources that are available within the vManage. Basically, in the production network, you will give high configuration like high CPU and high memory, and you will notice that immediately the change within the graphs. But the actual thing will work immediately, so that you can confirm the same thing within the CLI. So you see the traffic is trying to, I mean, it is increasing on Gigabit Ethernet 3, which is on the downside here. Okay, so it is similarly, I mean, reducing on the other link. So we will see the cross path between these two interfaces. Okay, so what happens if our latency is reduced on that particular link again? So the links will be preempted back automatically. So let me show you that. So let me access my delay generator again. What I'll do is I'll just delete the latency that I have created here. Okay, now we can go to the vManage and check the latency on that particular interface. As of now, it is 200 millisecond. You can see now the latency on that particular link is going down. Okay, once the latency goes down, our traffic again will try to switch back from the other link. So we can just verify that quickly on the CLI, just in the interest of time. So we need to wait for 20 seconds because that is what the policy and then the BFD timers that we have created. So within the 20 seconds time, it will just try to send the traffic on to the other one because the basically the preemption is automatic. Now you see the traffic is switched to the business internet again. Okay, so this is how the Cisco SD-WAN application aware routing will help your business, and it will also give you the quick inputs or insights on your entire WAN network. So what is the latency on that particular link at what particular time? So you can have all the reports collected, right? So and then you can also see the overall 7 days, what is the latency if you want to go back into the history, and then you want to see, you can also give the custom range, right? You have all the reports available from one single pane of glass, which is your NMS server, Cisco vManage. Okay, so that's all now for our today's demo for Cisco SD-WAN application aware routing. So any questions, so please post on